Okay, so I'm going to continue from the second stock round. All I've done between takes is simplify the money, and I've taken away the close-up camera because I'm not sure we need any more close-ups. So off we go. The priority deal is with player 4, who has the Baltimore and Ohio. He is going to first of all buy one of his Baltimore and Ohio for 50. Now, because it's a share in the stock market, the money goes to the bank. The other thing I didn't mention on your turn is once you've sold a share of a company, you can no longer buy in that operating round. Okay, so if you sell, you can then have to buy in a future operating round. Okay, and then we go over to player 1, who's got the Grand Trunk. The Grand Trunk will, the player 1 will purchase from the Grand Trunk directly, and so he's going to spend $80. And then the Pennsylvania Railroad player 2 is going to buy for $60, and then this money goes to the bank because he issued all his shares already. So that's there. We've then got the New York, who's going to purchase for 70. So that's 75. There, 75. Okay. And then player 4, who's got his 60% of his Baltimore, can't buy from Baltimore anymore, and he is going to purchase from the New York Central. He's going to spend $70. Buy New York Central. And the reason he's doing that, just to kind of help you understand the process, is the company that earned the most in dividends last time was the New York Central Railroad, and so that's why he's chosen that one. Obviously that may change next operating round, but that's the one he's kind of putting his money towards. Then we've got the player 1 with the Grand Trunk. He's going to buy another. He's got 75. He's got exactly 80, because these are. Oh no, he's not. Sorry, I'm confusing my 100s and my 1s. So that's fine. He's got plenty. Okay, so he's going to spend $100, get 20 back, and buy another Grand Trunk, and the money for that goes into the Grand Trunk because he's buying from the Grand Trunk. And then you've got Pennsylvania, who's got his 60% or her 60% of the Pennsylvania. So player 2 can't buy from Pennsylvania anymore. But what he will do is buy a stock of the Baltimore and Ohio. Okay. And then player 3 is going to buy he can't buy a New York Central. He could buy another Baltimore. Now the risk of buying a second Baltimore is the player 4, who's unlikely to, but the player 4 might try and dump Baltimore on you. So I think he might spread his earnings out, and so he's going to buy a Grand Trunk. Okay, and he's bought directly from the Grand Trunk. And then player 4 has got $30, so he's not going to buy. Player 1 has got 80, so he's going to buy his final Grand Trunk. Player 2 has got $60, so he could buy another Baltimore, so he's going to buy that. It is a slight risk to buy to buy 20% in a company, but he figures that it's unlikely that the Baltimore will. And then player 3 has 30, 40, 48, so not enough to buy, so he has to pass. 4 has to pass, and then 1 has to pass, and 2 has to pass. Now, obviously, each of them could have sold, but at this point, selling shares in your own, in the kind of the company you've got a majority, doesn't necessarily make sense, and so we'll just leave those for the moment. So that's the stock round over. We now move on to operating round 1, and all the privates will pay. So just going to do those. So we've got 20 here and $10 here, and then it's going to be $15 into this. So that's going to be 25. Sorry, I know I've realised that my camera angle I'm leaning over a lot, but I'm going to hopefully that's not going to be too much of an issue. Okay, there are no more independent railroads, so we've ignored those because obviously those kind of got bought up fairly quickly, which is probably a little bit unusual. I'm not playing with necessarily the best tactics. I'm just trying things out while I can, and then we run in descending stock value. So we start with the Grand Trunk, and the Grand Trunk has got quite a lot of money now because he's just had all its shares bought up. Oh, hold on, sorry, I've forgotten something. There's quite a key thing I've just forgotten, and that is all the companies with shares in their operating round, which is all 4 companies. They all drop 1 stock price, and you all start from the top and move down. Okay. So I'm just gonna have a look at how much money he's got. Okay, so that's fine. So he will pay $100 to upgrade Detroit, and that's going to be upgrading it to this tile here. Okay. The Detroit upgrade costs $100, and then he will upgrade Toledo to this here, I think. He would like to curl it round, but unfortunately I'm currently using the 4 cities that are curved, and technically some 18xx games are unlimited, have yellow tiles unlimited. I think 1846 say the basic kind of blank tiles are unlimited, but everything else is limited. So I'm going to play that and just have to upgrade it later. So that's going to be another $20 there. And I'm not going to lay a station tile, but I can run trains. So I've got a 3, 5, a 4 and a 2. And so I'm going to run the 3, 5 from Sarnia to Chicago. I'm then going to run a 2 train between Detroit and Toledo, and a 4 train between Windsor and Detroit. Okay, so I'm not using my full abilities of the trains, but what I'm doing is I'm tripling the Detroit tile, because I'm hitting it with 3 different trains, and you can't reuse track, but you can hit the same spot multiple times. Okay, so let's count this up. So that's going to be, so we're in green, so that's going to be 50, so that's going to be 17. So 17 for the Grand Trunk from his 3, 5. And then it's going to be 90 from his 4, so that's going to be 26. And then another 7 to 33 for the yeah, and another 7 for the 2 train. Okay. So 33. He's going to. I've got this trusty chart here, which I can put a link in, and this is basically a dividends chart. So it just shows you all the dividends on the top and all the percentage values. So I'm going to pay halves. Okay. So I'm going to get 160 into the company, and then I'm going to pay out on 17. Okay. I've got 60%, so that gives me 102. Okay. And then because player 3 has 1 grand trunk, he will get 17. So he will get 17. Okay. And 17 is more than double 70, so I then do a double jump. Okay. I can then purchase. Let me just quickly. Yeah. I'm actually going to hang fire because what I'm doing is I'm basically trying to save up for a brown train, and I've got $400 and something, so I'll be very close to getting that when I. But at the moment, I don't need a brown train, and getting another green train doesn't particularly help the Grand Trunk. Then I move on to the Pennsylvania Railroad. No, sorry, my mistake. I move on to the New York Central Railroad, which is the black one. I didn't say this at the beginning. At the beginning of my turn for the Grand Trunk, I could have actually taken spent some money, and I would have paid 80 because it was one above my original share price, and I could have bought back shares. But at the moment, I'm just going to leave it, and I think I will. I think I'll leave the New York Central as well, because at the moment money in the company is more useful, I think. So I'm going to obviously lay 2 track. I'm going to place down here. Just to let you know, I can't actually lay any tiles in Ohio and Indiana because the Grand Trunk has currently got those tiles reserved. And I will place 2 straight, which is going to be $40. So take back 60. Yeah, and then I'm going to run my train. My other choice is to buy a station, which might be helpful if I want to try and increase the number of stations I can hit. Actually, sorry, let me take that back. Let's not have that one. Let's have this one here. Now the reason I'm doing that, actually, sorry, I'm taking back a few things. So I'm going to go curve, and then I can upgrade. So I can upgrade this to a like something like that. And remember, I have to respect the original direction, but also keep. So I can't do that one. It has to be probably this one here. So respect the original, but I'm also then adding this extra prong here, which does help the Grand Trunk because that might be useful for it later. But actually, at the moment, it really helps me because I've got this 3.5, and so what I'm going to do is put a station token in Detroit, which would cost me $80, and I can do that because there's a free route, there's an available route all the way through to Detroit. Okay, and so now I've got a 3.5 and a 4, and I can run them both. So the 3-5 is going to go between Sarnia and Windsor. And Chicago Connections. I just had a look. So that would be 70, 7, 12, 16, 23. And then 26. 20, 31, 36. So what I'm actually going to do is run a 4 train between Chicago and Windsor, and then run a 3-5 train from Sarnia to Cleveland. Okay, so I'm not actually hitting my original hometown talk, but that doesn't matter. It's as long as I have a station on the route. And so that gets me to, I think it was 36, but I will just check that. So I've got Chicago Connections, which is 7, and then another 7 with Windsor. So 14, 19 with the with Detroit, and 23 with Chicago. Okay, so 23 for that train. And then it's going to be 3 of these 5, and so 3 of the, so that's 23, and then these 2 5s will be 33, and then so 36. So I'm at 36. So 36, and I've got a mail contract, and so with the mail contract I had another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I had 5 because my 3-5 has visited 5 stations. So it's actually my New York Central is going to be at 41, which is fairly good for the 3rd operating round. And so with 41, I think what I'm going to do is pay half. So this was actually paid out at 17. Pay half at 41 is going to be 200. Okay, so giving 200 to the company. And then it's 21 between the players, and so he's got 60%, so that's going to be 126. And then everyone else with a New York will get $21 per share, so that's just going to be player 4 who has $21 from that. 21 is more than double 60, so it's going to be a double jump for that. And then I've got $210. But what I will do is I will buy this 4 train. Okay, so that's going to be for another $80. Okay. No, sorry, not $80. For $180. Which I've just earned with my 200. Then it's going to be the Pennsylvania Railroad. He's got 3 2s. He will build. So, oh yeah, so one little thing. It's not phase 3 yet, so it's not browns yet. It's only when the first brown has been bought. So this phase marker will stay here. And so all the rules that apply to green will be available. So I can't upgrade, unfortunately, to brown yet. What I will do is I will place a tile here. Okay. So that'll be for 20. And then I will upgrade Fort Wayne to a green tile. Okay. And so that's going to be for $40. And then I've got 3 2s to run. So, hold on one second, sorry. What I will actually do is get the Chicago Western Indiana, and I'm going to spend 60. I'm going to give the player $60 for it. Okay, and I'm going to use the ability immediately, and put my Pennsylvania Railroad onto the Chicago spot. Okay, because then I'll be able to hit Chicago several times, which will be helpful because that's going to be a 40. And so what I'll do is I'll go between Chicago Connections and Chicago, which will be for 60 with one of my 2s. I'm going to go between Chicago and Fort Wayne, which will be for 70. So that's going to be 13. And then I'm going to go between Homewood and Cleveland for another 60. So falling behind a little bit from a paying out point of view, because obviously I've only got 3 2 trains and we're nearly onto the Browns. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the Browns are going to be coming out fairly soon, because the Grand Trunk will likely be able to buy a Brown at the next on the next operating round. But that means all of these 2 trains are going to get phased out. So actually, I think the Pennsylvania Railroad is going to withhold, which means he goes down 1 on the stock, and he's going to put 190 and he's going to take 190 and put it into its bank, because at the end of the following operating round, he will have to find $450 minimum. Okay, which is going to be quite tricky with what he's currently got. Okay, and then we've got the B&O to run. So the B&O's got 4 2 trains. And so he's not going to move the token. He's going to upgrade Wheeling, which will cost $40 because of this here. There's a little mountain between Pittsburgh and Wheeling apparently, and he's going to do to this one. Okay, so that makes Wheeling a $70 spot for him, which is really excellent. So that will be $40. And then he will place a city. He's going to be for 60. He's then going to place a straight in Columbus for. Okay, and then he's going to place a straight city in Columbus. With his trains, he's going to run between Pittsburgh and Wheeling, and Cumberland and Wheeling, which is going to be 10 and 9, so 19. Okay, it's going to be 19, and then we're going to run for another 2 between. This should be a B&O. I forgot to change that. So when he bought the B&O in, the Big 4 in, that would have become one of those. And then it's going to be for another 10. So it's going to be 29. Okay. He can't actually buy a train, so that's not a consideration of his, because he's actually got the full amount he's got. And I think because he can see that the Browns are coming up quickly, he's actually going to withhold as well, which is not ideal in this situation, but I think he's probably trying to maybe play a bit of catch up. So he's going to get $290. $290. So again, he's not quite there to get a Brown, but he will be there soon. Okay. So you can see that some companies are pushing ahead and some companies are having to push behind. I think I'm going to have to pause the video there for a second and maybe get back to you later. Okay. Okay, so now we're on to OR4. So again, the privates will pay their respective owners. And then I've got 30 here, 15, and then 10. Okay, so we go in ascending share value again. So the Grand Trunk is going to go, the Grand Trunk will run his 3 trains. So so he's not going to upgrade or lay tiles, I think, because he's at the point where he wants to really hold money until the Browns. So he's just going to hold fire. He's then going to run a 3, 5, a 4, and a 2. So I think he's going to run the 4 here. So 7, 11, and then 18, 23. And then 26, 36 for the 3, 5, and then he's got a 2 train to run. Which he can't actually run because of the because he's used all the lines he can. So he's just going to leave that. I can't see another way. I can't see a way of doing it. So then that was 36. So yeah, so 36. 36. There's no other things he can do. Oh, actually, he's gonna buy in the Ohio Indiana for $5, and he's gonna activate that. So that will be his tile lay. So I'm sorry, I'm going to take that back and then go this way, like this, and like this. Now, this seems a little bit odd to kind of be helping other players, but he's actually going to just try and buy into some of those other companies, I think. Anyway, so he's done that. He's won his trains for 36, and then he's going to pay halves. So 36 pay half is going to be 180 to the 180 to the company, and it's going to be 180 paying out. So 180 paying out for 60% is 108. So with the $2 back, it's going to be 110. Okay. And then anyone else with Grand Trunk is going to get $18 per share, which will be this player. So $18 per share. So he's going to give a 2 up. That's going to be 20, and then a 5, which will be 25. Okay. So he's paid out. He's paid more than double, or he's paid exactly double. So he's going to do a double jump, and he's now going to buy I think at this point, because he's got a route that runs between, because he's got the 5 route between Chicago and Windsor or Sarnia. He's actually going to buy a 5 for 500. So he's going to buy a brown train. So we're now into browns. Okay. And a couple of things happen now. And this is where maybe some of the pressure will get put onto some of the other companies. So first of all the private companies are removed. Okay. So the Michigan Southern is phased out. All the 2s are phased out. Okay. All the 2 trains are phased out. All the private companies are removed. So if I haven't used their ability, they're gone. The mail contract is the only one that remains, and the Steamboat Company is removed along with the tokens because it was never bought by the B&O. Now that was probably a mistake on my part. The B&O probably should have bought it, but for whatever reason I forgot to do that, so we're just going to leave it. So he's now bought the 5. This 2 train, that's phased out because then the train limit is now 3, but phased out trains don't count towards your train limit. Okay, and so this will stay here and run once more for the next operating round, and then it will no longer run. Okay, and then he's got a little bit of money, but not very much, so he can't buy anything else. And then it's going to be the New York. So the New York is a little bit safe because he's got 3 green trains, but unfortunately he's now got no space to buy a train. So we have to sit here and wait until the silver trains, or start another company and buy trains between, which we haven't really seen, but maybe we'll see that in the next operating round. Ooh, I forgot to assign priority. I'll have a look on the tape and assign the priority deal. I think it was probably going to be 4 again, because I think he may have bought his Grand Trunk as the last person to buy. But we'll see. That was a mistake on that part. The New York Central Railroad is going to run trains. So he's going to run between Chicago and Windsor. So it's going to be 7, 14, so 23. And then we're going to run a 3-5 train, so we're going to get 23, 26, 36, so that kind of run again, and then we've got another 4 train to run, and this time we're going to run, so 36, 39, 42, 47, 40, 48. Okay, so 48 is the base value, but then with the mail contract we're going to add another 5, so go from 48 to 53. So you can see that's fairly strong one at the moment for the New York Central. So at 53 he's probably going to pay out half again because he's going to start wanting to collect and gather money up, and at the moment, because their stock prices are so low, paying half still almost always means a double jump. So 53 is going to be 260 paid to the company. Okay, 260 paid to the company, and then 270 paid to between players. So 270, 60% is 162. Okay. 162. So that's 27, and then anyone else has got a share. So just player 4 has got 1 share, and that's going to be paid out at $27. Okay, so $27. So he's paid more than his double, so he's going to do a double jump, and then we move on to the Pennsylvania. Now Pennsylvania is in a fairly bad way because his trains are now going to be phasing out, and he's going to need to buy a train at the end of this round. So he's going to need to really use his metal to make sure he doesn't kind of start having to pay with his own cash. What he's going to do is, so he's got 230 in his treasury, and he's going to make another 19, so that's going to be 420. So he's going to be $30 short. So I suppose for $30, it's not going to be too big an issue. So he's going to run a 60, a 60 and a 70, okay, for his 3-2 trains. So that's going to be 19 again, so nothing's changed, 19. He could pay money, start paying money to upgrade, but actually in some ways paying money to upgrade just makes him lose more money unless he makes more for the upgrade. How much is the Chicago? So actually it is worth doing the Chicago tile at this point, because the Chicago tile jumps from 40 to 70. Okay, so he's going to pay $20 for that. Get 5 change. And so then that will, and I apologise, I'm kind of doing things slightly out of order. So it should be 90, 19, and then a 6, so 25. So he makes an extra $6 per share. Or if he's going to withhold, he's going to make an extra $60, which is more than the 20 he spent, so that was worth doing. So he now gets 250 into his train company's treasury. So he withholds and goes backwards, and then these all run once, so they're all phased out and gone. And then he's going to buy, which he's just literally getting the upgrading that was a really key point, because he's now can buy 450 and not having to spend any of his personal cash. So that's really good. So he buys a 4.6 for 450. Okay, that's the Pennsylvania run, and then it's the Baltimore and Ohio. He's got 4-2 trains. He can probably so he also needs to think about how much he's going to be getting, because he's going to be getting 290, and he's got 315. Okay, so he's got 315. So he probably. Oh, I've made a mistake. It's only going to be the New York and the Pennsylvania, so I'll quickly amend it. Both of those should have been looking at the brown, because it's now the brown phase. So let me just quickly work out how much more that would be. So that would be another 20, another 20, and another 20. So the New York will be another 30, so $3 per share. So that's going to be 18. Okay, 18. So it's going to be 7 back. Okay, sorry about this. I usually, if it's a mistake like that, I would just lump it, but I don't want. With running 4, it's more likely to make mistakes, and then it'll be $30 to the company. Okay, and then $3 to him, and it will be. It was going to be the Pennsylvania who had that one there, that one. So it's going to be another $20. So $20 to the company, okay, because he withheld completely. Okay. And so because it's the browns, the Baltimore needs to look at the brown values. So Pittsburgh actually does really well at this point, because it jumps from 30 to 70. So actually he goes from 70, so that's 100, and that's going to be 70. So 17. And then what he will do is he's going to pay 60 to get to this Louisville for 70. So that will earn him a little bit more. So it's going to be 40 back. Placing this here like that. And then he's going to run his 2 trains. So that's going to be 17. 27, and then it will be 27 plus 5, so 27, and then to 32. Okay. So not buying in the Steamboat Company would have cost me $80, which is kind of painful. So I'm at 30. So I'm earning 32. And I've got 250, So unfortunately, I think I'm going to need to withhold in its entirety, which really makes it painful because each one of my shares is $20 each. So I'm going to have $320 to my bank, not to the bank, from the bank to the company, and then I'm going to buy probably a 4.6. The reason I'm buying a 4.6 is with the route I'm looking at the moment, I'm going to be trying and getting a six station between maybe Cumberland or Pittsburgh, probably Pittsburgh, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and then probably 5, 6. So I want to try and get these 6 stations, and that's going to be my target for the B&O. So that's why I'm buying a 4.6 rather than a 5. And so that's going to be 450, and so I've got 125 left in the kitty. Okay, so even though the Grand Chunk has pushed phase 3 in OR4, they've all managed to survive. Yes, the B&O is looking very, very low, and that's kind of painful, but he's also the one who's been bought out the most, so hopefully his stock value will start rising when he's completely bought out, and then hopefully that will the tides will turn for this player here. That is OR4 completely run. I'm going to stop filming there. What I'll do is I will simplify all the cache and start uploading this one here. This one should be a much quicker upload because it's just going to be 2 videos spliced together with a little front intro, so like an intro. So that'll be much nicer than my volume 1 video. Excellent. Thank you.